In SCPSL, one of the core mechanics is combat, and if you suck at it, well, you're not gonna have a very fun time playing the game. So, what can you do to ensure your survival more? Well, I'm gonna give you a few pro tips that will drastically increase your chances of surviving in this absolute hellscape. Now, I'm not saying that you're gonna magically start winning every single fight, but you will start performing better. I'll be covering tips from attachments to just how you should generally be moving around the map. But anyways, we're gonna get straight into this. The first step to being good at the game is understanding how it works, so we'll be talking about how the guns work in the game. Here I have the COM-18, just a normal weapon. I have a laser sight on it, and that's primarily how I aim. As of recoil, we'll talk about how it works in a moment. Your accuracy depends on if you are running, walking, or even jumping. So during combat, it's advised that you're not jumping around like crazy. If you take a look at the crosshair here, it will tighten and expand depending on how accurate your weapon will be. The larger the crosshair, the more inaccurate, so you want to be relatively steady. However, we can take this system a step further. If you type accuracy stats into the console, you will get this message, which will give you this. Now this is a very powerful tool, and it will replace your crosshair, but of course not your laser sights as they are separate. It will more accurately show and display the accuracy of your weapon. Okay, but now what do I really mean when I say accuracy? Because don't your bullets just go straight? Well, not exactly. If you look at the circle shows you at what area your bullet will go in, or rather, where your bullets can go in. If it's tight, it'll be within that circle. If it's wider, it'll still be in that circle, but, you see the problem? The circle is wider, that has more places to go, which are usually not your target. Alright, so now that you understand how the accuracy of the game works to a basic degree, how do you actually land your shots more efficiently? Well, it should go without saying, but aiming at the head level is the way to go. Now, what I mean by this is that you should always be aiming at the head level. It's easier with a laser sight. You do not want to jump around for accuracy reasons when fighting, because you will miss most of your shots. But if you do aim at head level and are aiming relatively steady, you should take out your targets way before they even get a chance to take out you. Because that's the goal here. You want to not give your enemies a chance. Do not be threatened by the fact that the head hitbox is smaller than the other hitboxes. The fact that it does the most damage is huge, and I'll explain why. Where you aim matters a lot, because your targets will be armored. The heads, armors can give some head resistance, but it's not too much to matter. They mainly give body resistance, and that's a problem. Aiming at the limbs is unaffected by armor, but I mean, you're never going to be aiming there on purpose. Here are the more specific armor stats if you are interested. But at the end of the day, and I'll reiterate, you should just aim at the head. Though the differences between firing at an unarmored target and one with armor are usually not too noticeable, they do make a big difference in the long run, especially if you're the one being shot at. You'll notice if your armor has saved you or not. So yes, aiming at head level will kill your enemies very quickly. Now, let's talk about movement. You want to always be moving during a fight. You want to avoid jumping unless you are specifically dodging. An inaccuracy of the demonstration you are witnessing is that your enemies will also be constantly moving. So in a fight, you won't necessarily be leading your shots, but rather tracking their heads. Also regarding general movements, you want to be sticking to sides, as they will provide you with cover, and it'll keep you alive. This logic applies to outside of fights as well. If you're just walking down the middle of a hallway, you are more likely to be shot, and if there's a sniper at the end of the hall, you'll be dead before you can react. What you should do is constantly stick to corners and sides, and often check your doors and corners. Sticking to the sides will keep you alive, as the element of surprise is often a deciding factor in fights, and you want to avoid getting shot as soon as you open the door.
Let's talk about attachments now. Here is my go-to for the E11, and allow me to explain it. Here we have the lightweight stock, which is very good for running accuracy, because most of your fights in the game are going to be in hip fire, which is what I'm doing right now. This is ADS, also known as aiming down the sights, and when you have the gun at your hip and you're not explicitly aiming, that's hip firing. And that's the majority of combat in the game. Of course, like I demonstrated earlier, if you're looking down the hall, then I would recommend aiming from far away. And speaking of sights, you might be wondering, why is he not using a hollow sight? Well, let me explain this to you. Look at the stats here. The ADS zoom is 1.3 times. The stats for this one, 1.05. You get less of a zoom using the sights, and worse, guess what? The equip time is, you'll never notice it, but it is a little bit more. And it adds up depending on how many attachments you have that have longer equip times. So that's gonna add up and it'll be bad. And it has weight, which you don't want for obvious reasons. Unless you're going with explicitly a sniper, I wouldn't use any of these sights. For the magazine, I have the AP rounds, as I'm mostly fighting humans. Of course, if you're fighting primarily SCPs, you would probably want to swap to JHP. But, I would just recommend using AP. I would never bother with FMJ. It's only in like a few weapons you'll ever see this type of magazine, but it's always between AP and JHP. AP is for humans, as you can see, it's armor penetration. And for JHP, it's for damage, which is usually for SCPs. But if you see that minus 50% penetration, you do not want to use this when fighting another human. I have a flashlight on this gun, because if there's an SCP-079, you're screwed if you don't have a flashlight. I have the laser sights because of the hip firing accuracy. I could use the foregrip, but I mean the recoil on this gun really is not that bad. I have the carbine receiver because if we look at this one, you would only ever use the rifle receiver if you're going to be aiming down the sights a lot, because as you can see, hip firing accuracy goes down, the fire rate goes down. It's a sniper type of barrel. You wouldn't want to use this for normal shootings. Finally, we have this. None. Never use none. Suppressor, that's alright. Flash hider. It's only flash suppression. I mean, it's just this, but with the flash suppression, it's technically better. I would recommend it, but then these two are the big ones. We have the fire rates, which I have on this setup. It's very self-explanatory. If you're like in very close quarters, fire rates allows you to shoot a lot more bullets at your enemies, of course, which means you have more opportunities to land headshots on them. I like the muzzle brake because of the recoil reduction, because not all of your fights are going to be close range. In fact, not many of them will be. You will never know what your situation is like. Those are my attachments for this, and the logic applies for other weapons. For instance, let me get the crossfec. I am using JHP here because a 30 bullet magazine and a submachine gun is just bad news. The retracted stock. Recoil when aiming, it's bad. You don't want to use it, but honestly, it's not that bad. That's still pretty accurate. And the aiming accuracy goes down. However, the equip time is so much better, and the length time... Sorry, length time? The length is shorter. Because with this one, equipping it, that'll get you killed. during a fight, you want to be able to get your gun out as quickly as you can, because pulling out your gun like this, that's like how many seconds? That was like a good second and a half, basically, before I was able to even shoot. That's a lot of time for your enemy to land all headshots on you. It only takes a few. As I was saying before, I was very rudely interrupted. Gun equip time is huge, because, I mean, the shorter that you are able to equip your weapon, the better. That's very quick. You'll be able to fight back very quickly, and it'll definitely save your life. Because back when I used to use this, when 11.0 update came out, which remastered all the guns and added new ones like this one, equip time got me killed many times. The same logic applies with the iron sights. If you check out any of my guns, they will all have iron sights, except for the AK and Logicer. I'll get to those in a second, though. The laser and flashlight dilemma. You can either pick the flashlight, which honestly is really good. If you're using accuracy stats, honestly, you should probably just go for the flashlight, because if there's a computer, which there probably will be, you'll be able to still be relatively accurate, and also fight back when the lights go out, because, I mean, it's basically a laser sight. I mean, it replaces your crosshair, like I already said, but, I mean, it's not exactly a laser sight, but it certainly feels like one. Personally, I go with the laser sights, though, because, I mean, it helps with aiming at the exact head level, which is very important. Here you have the extended barrel, or you could have the flash hider. Those are my recommendations. As of recently, I've been using the flash hider because of, as you could see, the differences, length and weight and equip time. You want to get all those three stats as low as you can get, because they make a big difference. Length messes with the accuracy of your weapon. The longer it is, for instance, if I go to the E11 rifle, the longer your weapon is, the more accurate it is when you're aiming down sights. But we don't want that. So I would just recommend using shorter weapons, if that makes sense. The shotgun, they nerfed the hell out of it. I just will never use it anymore. I don't like it anymore, but use the double shot system. Sure, it takes a few years to reload, like per shot out. That's bad. You just need to be, it's a one-hit wonder, because, I mean, the single shot, it's not that much better, and it's not going to insta-kill, so I would just use the double shot. Anyways, this is the AK. It looks very different to what people's AKs normally look like in the game, but let me explain why. No stock. Wow, look at that. Hip firing accuracy, aiming speed, running accuracy, equip time. These are all the stats I've been looking for in my life. Because, I mean, if we're moving, it's pretty accurate. Let me get the AK ammo. Of course, aiming down sights will be a nightmare now. But, if you are smart with your recoil and, like, pull your mouse down, you won't be perfect, but, you can. And that's why I have the recoil here. Because, laser sights, I mean, for hip firing, it's a dream. But, the recoil is the problem there. You see, it's less accurate because of your recoil. So, honestly, like, those shots were more consistent with, less recoil, because you need to pull your mouse down a lot more if you have the laser sight. This is technically worse, for the specific setup. AP rounds, of course. I was talking about the sights earlier. Ammo counter sight. It's not as much zoom, but it's still better than the hollow sights. And I like this because it gives you, well, an ammo counter. Now, a recently added feature, you can actually hold down the trigger and it'll shoot for you consistently, like any other weapon, when previously you had to tap it. And, It's easier if you just hold it, you don't have to think as much. But with this weapon, it is actually very good, like I said, because it's consistent and the damage is better than you would think. Of course, if you're fighting humans, you would want the AP rounds. But yeah, as you can see, the penetration is gone, so AP rounds against humans. I actually need to swap it to AP. I'm digging the AP today. Wow, that was lag. So, what did we learn? Well, we've learned about attachments, movement, and accuracy. Before I get off, there's a few more things I need to throw in at the end. You want to disable head bobbing, as it'll mess up you aiming at constant head level, and also disable the screen shake from explosions. Personally, I'd also change flashbangs to be darker, but that's just a personal preference thing. Anyways, I hope all of these little tips will help you in your combat. Of course, like I said, you won't start magically winning fights, but you should start performing better, and that's what it's all about. Practice makes perfect. You can try to find a deathmatch server to practice gunplay, though they're very rare. Anyways, with that, I hope you have a good day, and I hope to see you next time.